turn the microphone on. That'll help. Maybe I can do like that and I can see better. Which I don't have to see that, but all right. Pop-ups. All right. Septuagint. Pull that up. And I guess I pull Thompson up since I don't normally use it, but and yeah. All right. So let's share here. Oh, I think I finally got my picture fixed after all this time. Happy Sabbath, everybody. I'm Lee. Welcome. Doing a sacred word study of Jeremiah. Okay. All right. Hope this is a blessing and helpful to somebody. And if there's anything I miss, feel free to share. Let's see here. Sign in. Okay. All right. So it says sign in. Well, it worked there. All right. Should work here. Refresh. Fresh chat. All right. Oh. No, don't do that. Okay. Let's get into it. Praise Yah for a day of rest and day to study His Word, grow closer to Him. May it spill out into the rest of the week. I do need to pull up this too. So Septuagint 36, the regular is 43 in the Septuagint. So we're on 43. All right, so Jeremiah 36, in the 4th year of King Jehoiakim, son of Jehu, to them, all of them may turn from their evil ways, so that I may forgive their iniquity and their sin. Then Jeremiah called Baruch, son of Neriah, and Baruch wrote on a scroll at Jeremiah's dictation all the words that Yahuwah had spoken to him. And Jeremiah ordered Baruch, saying, I am prevented from entering the house of Yahuwah. So you go, and on the fast day in the hearing of the people in Yahuwah's house, you shall read the words of Yahuwah from the scroll that you have written at my dictation. You shall read them also in the hearing of all the people of Yehudah who come up from their towns. It may be that their plea will come before Yahuwah, and that all of them will turn from their evil ways. That's breaking God's law. For great is the anger and wrath that Yahuwah has pronounced against this people, and all through the scripture. The evil ways is breaking God's laws. Good ways is keeping God's laws. Because He's holy, just, and good, right? Just like His word, holy, just, and good. And Baruch, son of Neriah, did all that the prophet Jeremiah ordered him about reading from the scroll the words of Yahuwah in Yahuwah's house. And you can see, if you go to anywhere, that this Lord here is a translation. It's a Jewish tradition that Christians have copied. That's not scriptural. You'll see There were no vowel points in the Dead Sea Scrolls, so they didn't have it pointed Elohim and Lord, which is what they do here. See the pointing on it, the vowels, they point it. So Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, Ua, Hey. This Vav is a modern thing. You know, even the scholars will say ancient Vav was not a Vav, it was a Wa. But I believe it's a U because the W comes from a U, right? So he translated as Lord, God, Jehovah variant. A proper name of the one true God. Unpronounced except with the vowel pointings. See? That's why they say Lord. If you go here, you can see Adonai. See the vowel pointings? Lord. And go back here. See the vowel pointings? They just stick the vowel pointings on there and they call it Lord. It's not his name. His name's Yahuwah. Psalm 68 says, praise Yah, right? By his name. So you can see, well, you can look that up, but yeah. Also, I was going to pull up Baruch. So there's actually a book of Baruch that used to be in the scriptures that they took out in 1885. If you go here, you go to the Apocrypha, part of the KJV for 274 years till they removed it in 1885. Because they didn't have Hebrew copies, so they took them out. And see, it was removed because of not finding books in the original Hebrew manuscripts. Others claim it wasn't removed. But then you see the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls in Hebrew, right? So it was considered scripture way back. It didn't just start in the KJV. So since we're on that, I'm going to read this to go with what we're reading today. Happy Sabbath, Rachel. Hope you're having a good day. So Baruch, chapter 1, these are the words of the book that Baruch, son of Neriah, son of Maaseiah, son of Zedekiah, son of Hasdiah, son of Hilkiah, wrote in Babylon in the 5th year on the 7th day of the month, at the time when the Chaldeans took Jerusalem and burned it with fire. Baruch read the words of this book to Jeconiah, son of Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, and to all the people who came to hear the book, and to the nobles and the princes, and to the elders, and to all the people, small and great, all who lived in Babylon by the river Sud. So he's speaking to the people in the captivity. Then they wept and fasted and prayed before Yahuwah. They collected as much silver as each could give and sent it to Jerusalem to the priest Jehoiakim, son of Hilkiah, son of Shallum, the priest, and to the priest and to all the people who were present with him in Jerusalem. That's interesting. So there were still people in Jerusalem. At the same time, on the 10th day in Sivan, Baruch took the vessels of the house of Yahuwah that had been carried away from the temple to return them to the land of Judah. The silver vessels that Zedekiah, son of Josiah, king of Yehuda, had made after King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon had carried away from Jerusalem Jeconiah and the princes and the prisoners and the nobles and the people of the land, and brought them to Babylon. So this may be on the return. Yeah, so they're returning the vessels to Judah. They said, here we send you silver, so buy with the silver burnt offerings, and for sin and incense, and prepare a grain offering, and offer them on the altar of Yahuwah our God, and pray for the life of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, and for the life of his son Belshazzar, so that their days on earth may be like the days of heaven. Yahuwah will give us strength and a light to our eyes. We shall live under the protection of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, and under the protection of his son Belshazzar, and we shall serve them many days and find favor in their sight. Pray also for us to Yahuwah our God, for we have sinned against Yahuwah our God, and to this day the anger of Yahuwah and his wrath have not turned away from us. And you shall read aloud this scroll that we are sending you to make your confession in the house of Yahuwah on the days of the festivals and appointed seasons. And you shall say, to Yahuwah our God belongs righteousness, but to us this day public shame, and on the people of Yehuda, on the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and on our kings, our rulers, our priests, our prophets, and our ancestors, because we have sinned before Yahuwah. We have disobeyed him, and have not heeded the voice of Yahuwah our God, to walk in the statutes of Yahuwah that he has set before us. From the time when Yahuwah brought our ancestors out of the land of Egypt up until today, we have been disobedient to Yahuwah our God, and we have been negligent in not listening to his voice. So to this day, there have clung to us the calamities and the curse that Yahuwah declared through his servant Moses at the time when he brought our ancestors out of the land of Egypt to give us a land flowing with milk and honey. We did not listen to the voice of Yahuwah our God and all the words of the prophets whom he sent to us, but all of us followed the intent of our own wicked hearts or minds by serving other gods and doing what is evil in the sight of Yahuwah our God. So Yahuwah carried out the threat he spoke against us, against our judges who ruled Yisrael, and against our kings and our rulers and the people of Yisrael and Yehuda. Under the whole heaven there has not been done the like of what he has done in Jerusalem, in accordance with what is written in the law of Moses, that we would eat the flesh of our sons and the flesh of our daughters. He made them subject to all the kingdoms around us, to be an object of scorn and a desolation among all the surrounding peoples, where Yahuwah has scattered them. They were brought down and not raised up, because we sinned against Yahuwah our God and did not listen to his voice. Listen to his voice in Hebrew means to obey. To Yahuwah our God belongs righteousness, but to us this day open shame. All these calamities with which Yahuwah threatened us have come upon us, yet we have not entreated the favor of Yahuwah by turning away each of us from the thoughts of our wicked minds. And Yahuwah has kept the calamities ready, and Yahuwah has brought them upon us, for Yahuwah is just in all the works that he has commanded us to do. Yet we have not obeyed his voice to walk in the statutes of Yahuwah that he has set before us. And now, O Yahuwah God of Yisrael, who brought your people out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand and with signs and wonders and with great power and outstretched arm, and made yourself a name that continues to this day, we have sinned, we have been ungodly, we have done wrong, O Yahuwah our God, against all your ordinances. Let your anger turn away from us, for we are left few in number among the nations where you have scattered us. Hear, O Yahuwah, our prayer and our entreaty, and for your own sake deliver us, and grant us favor in the sight of those who have carried us into exile, kind of like Jubilees when they left on the Exodus, so that all the earth may know that you are Yahuwah our God, for Yisrael and his descendants are called by your name. O Yahuwah, look down from your holy dwelling and consider us. Incline your ear, O Yahuwah, and hear. Open your eyes, O Yahuwah, and see. For the dead who are in Hades, that's Sheol in Hebrew, whose spirit has been taken from their bodies, will not ascribe glory or justice to Yahuwah, but the person who is deeply grieved, who walks bowed and feeble, with failing eyes and famished soul, will declare your glory and righteousness, O Yahuwah. Sounds like Isaiah, broken and contrite heart, mind. For it is not because of any righteous deeds of our ancestors or our kings that we bring before you our prayer for mercy, O Yahuwah our God, for you have sent your anger and your wrath upon us, as you declare by your servants the prophets, saying, Thus says Yahuwah, bend your shoulders and serve the king of Babylon, and you will remain in the land that I gave to your ancestors. But if you will not obey the voice of Yahuwah and will not serve the king of Babylon, I will silence from the towns of Yehuda and from the region around Jerusalem the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, and the whole land will be a desolation without inhabitants. But we did not obey your voice to serve the king of Babylon, and you have carried out your threats that you spoke by your servants the prophets, that the bones of our kings and the bones of our ancestors will be brought out of their resting place. And indeed they have been thrown out to the heat of day and the frost of night. They perished in great misery by famine and sword and pestilence. And the house that is called by your name you have made as it is today, because of the wickedness of the house of Yisrael and the house of Yehuda. Yet you have dealt with us, O Yahuwah our God, in all your kindness and all your great compassion, as you spoke by your servant Moses on the day when you commanded him to write your law in the presence of the people of Israel, saying, If you will not obey my voice, this very great multitude will surely turn into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. For I know that they will not obey me, for they are a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their exile they will have a change of mind, and know that I am Yahuwah their God. I will give them a mind that obeys and ears that hear. They will praise me in the land of their exile and will remember my name. Interesting. And will turn from their stubbornness and their wicked deeds, for they will remember the ways of their ancestors who sinned before Yahuwah. I will bring them again to the land that I swore to give to their ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they will rule over it, and I will increase them, and they will not be diminished. I'll make an everlasting covenant with them to be their God, and they shall be my people, and I will never again remove my people from Israel, from the land that I have given them. That's a promise. Oh, let me pull that up. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. Should have pulled it up before. All right. Search. Okay. Stop with the pop-ups. Every time. Oh. The internet was a better place before pop-ups. All right, so here, let's see. Yeah, it's interesting. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found 2 forms of the book of Jeremiah. Interesting. All right, so here is, let me go up. This is Dead Sea Scrolls, the Wise Translation, Damascus document. The document everybody loves because it tells them they're not doing Sabbath right. So there is one fate for everyone who rejects the commandments of God and abandons them to follow their own willful mind, heart. This is the word that Jeremiah spoke to Baruch, son of Neriah, and Elisha to Gehazi, his servant. Interesting. So that's what he was talking about. Jeremiah 48. Three false prophets opposed Jeremiah. Interesting. Oh yeah, they've got there's more in the Dead Sea Scrolls than the Damascus document. So, just so you know. This here. Yeah, so here, this is they call it apocryphal Jeremiah because we don't have that in our what we call sacred writings, our canon given to us by the church fathers and the rabbis and everything. But it says Jeremiah the prophet from before Yahuwah, they were taken captive from the land of Jerusalem and went to Babylon. And when Nebuzaradan, so Nebuchadnezzar's name is spelt differently in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the captain of the bodyguard struck Jerusalem and took all the utensils of the house of God, along with the priests, the chiefs, the sons of Israel, and brought them to Babylon. Jeremiah the prophet went the river. So we see where Baruch's at the river, right? So Jeremiah went to the river. He commanded them that they should do what they should do in the land of their exile. So we got missing parts in the scroll. And they obeyed. Hold on a second. Let me zoom in some. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Is that better? Maybe a little more. All right. So, and they obeyed the voice of Jeremiah, the words which God had commanded him. They kept the covenant of the God of their fathers in the land of their exile. We're supposed to keep the covenant in the land of our exile, which they did along with their kings, their priests, right? Interesting. How'd they do that if they didn't have any writings in Babylon? You had to. You got to have writings to keep the covenant. Tells you what to do. And you go down here. Also in Taphnes, and they said to him, inquire of Yahuwah on our behalf. But Jeremiah refused to inquire of God for them. He lifted up a song of rejoicing and prayer, and then Jeremiah sang a dirge for them to Jerusalem. So in Egypt, Jeremiah refused to inquire of God. And Jeremiah dwelt in the land of Taphnes, which is in the land of Egypt, to the son of Yisrael and to the sons of Yehuda and Benjamin every day, and they have observed my statutes and kept my ordinances after the Gentiles, which, turn that off. All right, shall not. All right, so then we've got pseudo Ezekiel. Let me go back up. This is interesting because reference to Jubilees. So let's go back up. The Hebrew title of the Book of Jubilees, Book of the Divisions of the Times. Wasn't called Jubilees. Let's see. Is that it? I wanted to mention one thing if I could find it. The dry bones vision still is in there too. Yep. Let me zoom down a little bit. All right, so the circumstances of Jeremiah's final days are not known. The church fathers knew of a tradition reporting he was stoned at Taphnes. So the church fathers said he went to Egypt. Jewish tradition, Seder Olam Rabbah, suggests that he and Baruch were taken to Babylon, where he died. The fragment may preserve an early witness to the rabbinic story. So the scholars read the information and then they ignore that he was at the river Babylon and in Egypt. Right. So the rabbis were wrong because he didn't die in Babylon. He went to Babylon, correct. And then he went to Egypt and he died in Egypt. In the land they begged for their sons, everyone who remains in the land of Egypt shall die. And Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, went up from the land of Egypt 66 years from the exile of Israel. The words, Israel dwelt upon the river Shur at the post of. Okay, so maybe he didn't die in Egypt. But it doesn't say he returned to Babylon. He was at Babylon, then he went to Egypt, and then he went up from Egypt. So probably at the return of Israel, so they were in captivity 70 years. So at 66 years, he left Egypt to return with Israel. Possibly. So, let's see. But it's interesting, the church fathers and the rabbis both got it right, and they both got it wrong too, as we can see from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, it's pretty cool. All right, let's leave that. In the 5th year of King Jehoiakim, son of Josiah of Yehuda, in the 9th month, all the people in Jerusalem and all the people who came from the towns of Yehuda to Jerusalem proclaimed a fast before Yahuwah. Then in the hearing of all the people, Baruch read the words of Jeremiah from the scroll in the house of Yahuwah in the chamber of Gemariah, son of Shaphan, the secretary, which was in the upper court at the entry of the new gate of Yahuwah's house. When Micaiah, son of Gemariah, son of Shaphan, heard all the words of Yahuwah from the scroll, he went down to the king's house into the secretary's chamber, and all the officials were sitting there. Elishama, the secretary, Delilah, son of Shemaiah, Elnathan, son of Akbor, Gemariah, son of Shaphan, Zedekiah, son of Hananiah, and all the officials. And Micaiah told them all the words that he had heard when Baruch read the scroll in the hearing of the people. Then all the officials sent Yehudi, son of Nethaniah, son of Shelemiah, son of Cushi, to say to Baruch, bring the scroll that you read in the hearing of the people and come. So Baruch, son of Neriah, took the scroll in his hand and came to them. And they said to him, sit down and read it to us. So Baruch read it to them. When they heard all the words, they turned to one another in alarm and said to Baruch, we certainly must report all these words to the king. Then they questioned Baruch, tell us now, how did you write all these words? Was it at his dictation? Baruch answered them, he dictated all these words to me, and I wrote them with ink on the scroll. Then the official said to Baruch, go and hide, you and Jeremiah, and let no one know where you are. Why does he got to hide? Yeah, the king gets pissed off, and he burns the scroll. Come on, man. Leaving the scroll in the chamber of Elishama, the secretary, they went to the court of the king, and they reported all the words in the hearing of the king. Then the king sent Yehudi to get the scroll, and he took it from the chamber of Elishama, the secretary, and Yehudi read it in the hearing of the king and all the officials who stood beside the king. Now the king was sitting in his winter apartment. It was the 9th month, and there was a fire burning in the brazier before him. As Yehudi read 4 columns, that's how the scrolls were lined up in columns. So you can look at the, it'd be awesome just to have the original scrolls, be able to read the language, and yeah, just toss that modern Bible tradition out the window. But, you know, we got what we got to work with. See. Columns. Anyways, you can see how a scroll looks. It's pretty cool. There's the Dead Sea Scroll caves. All right, pop-ups. Get out of here. He would cut them off with a penknife and throw them in the fire in the brazier until the entire scroll was consumed in the fire that was in the brazier. Yet neither the king nor any of his servants who heard all these words was alarmed, nor did they tear their garments. Even when Elnathan and Deliah, and Gemariah urged the king not to burn the scroll, he would not listen to them. And the king commanded Jeremiel, the king's son, and Sariah, son of Azriel, and Shelemiah, son of Abdil, to arrest the secretary Baruch and the prophet Jeremiah. But Yahuwah hid them. Now after the king had burned the scroll with the words that Baruch wrote at Jeremiah's dictation, the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah, take another scroll and write on it all the former words that were on the first scroll, which King Jehoiakim of Yehuda has burned. And concerning King Jehoiakim of Yehuda, you shall say, thus says Yahuwah, you have burned this scroll, saying, why have you written in it that the king of Babylon will certainly come and destroy this land and will cut off from it man and animals? Therefore, thus says Yahuwah concerning King Jehoiakim of Yehuda, you shall have no one to sit upon the throne of David, and his dead body shall be cast out to the heat by day and the frost by night. Kind of like Jezebel. Dead body cast out. I will punish him and his offspring and his servants for their iniquity, lawlessness. I will bring on them and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem and on the people of Yehuda all the disasters with which I have threatened them, but they would not listen. Then Jeremiah took another scroll and gave it to the secretary Baruch, son of Neriah, who wrote on it at Jeremiah's dictation all the words of the scroll that King Jehoiakim of Yehuda had burned in the fire, and many similar words were added to them. Yeah, I don't try to explain it a whole lot to Gentiles or, non-believers, because they're not going to comprehend. I just say, I believe in, tell them the Bible, because they know what that is. I believe in doing what it says in the Bible, and God told us to do things. So, and they'll want to know it's your religion, right? Just doing what the Bible says. That's my religion, right? So you got to break it down and make it simple for them. Because if you, they're not going to get it. Just not. Like my son told his work the other day he had to be off Saturday, and they're like, "Nah, you gotta, we got this, we got doing it, and, And they called me, and I was like, he probably didn't convey the message like I told him to. I said, "It's our religion." And she was like, "Oh, your religion?" And she turned around and goes, "You don't never be ashamed of your religion." See, she didn't understand. I could have told her other stuff, but she wouldn't understood what I was talking about. Um, so, and it keeps you from getting hemmed in too. I don't have to explain my religion to you, right? Freedom of religion. Okay. So I just do what the Bible says, and that's my religion. So that may help some people out there if you're dealing with people and having to defend your position. That way you don't get pinned in to something and stuff used against you, because they're not supposed to use your religion against you. You have freedom of religion. Okay. So, I don't work on Saturday because it's part of my religion, which I don't believe in, like religion, tradition, all that bull crap, but dealing with people, outsiders, you have to put it in terms that they'll comprehend, so hope that helps anybody out there that might need some help. So 37, Zedekiah, son of Josiah, whom King Nebuzaradan, Dead Sea Scrolls, of Babylon, made king in the land of Yehuda, succeeded Coniah, son of Jehoiakim. But neither he nor his servants nor the people of the land listened to the words of Yahuwah that he spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Appreciate it, Rachel. Yeah. That's it's difficult being part of the world but not part of the world at the same time. You gotta work with the system that we're attached to right now, because he hasn't separated us yet, so we're stuck. And it sucks, but y'all can help us. He give us a way. So King Zedekiah sent Yehukal, son of Shelemiah, and the priest Zephaniah, son of Maaseiah, to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, "Please pray for us to Yahuwah our God." Now Jeremiah was still going in and out among the people, for he had not yet been put in prison. Meanwhile, the army of Pharaoh had come out of Egypt, and when the Chaldeans who were besieging Jerusalem heard news of them, they withdrew from Jerusalem. Interesting. The army of Pharaoh had come out of Egypt. Interesting. Then the word of Yahuwah came to the prophet Jeremiah. Thus says Yahuwah, God of Israel, this is what you shall say to the king of Yehuda, who sent you to me to inquire of me. Pharaoh's army, which set out to help you, is going to return to its own land, to Egypt. And the Chaldeans shall return and fight against this city. They shall take it and burn it with fire. Thus says Yahuwah, do not deceive yourselves, saying, the Chaldeans will surely go away from us, for they will not go away. Even if you defeated the whole army of Chaldeans who are fighting against you, and there remained of them only wounded men in their tents, they would rise up and burn the city with fire. Now when the Chaldean army had withdrawn from Jerusalem at the approach of Pharaoh's army, Jeremiah set out from Jerusalem to go to the land of Benjamin to receive his share of property among the people there. When he reached the Benjamin gate, a sentinel there named Uriah, son of Shelemiah, son of Hananiah, arrested the prophet Jeremiah, saying, you are deserting to the Chaldeans. And Jeremiah said, that is a lie. I am not deserting to the Chaldeans. But Uriah would not listen to him and arrested Jeremiah and brought him to the officials. The officials were enraged at Jeremiah, and they beat him and imprisoned him in the house of the secretary Jonathan, for it had been made a prison. Thus Jeremiah was put in the cistern house in the cells and remained there many days. Then King Zedekiah sent for him and received him. The king questioned him secretly in his house and said, is there any word from Yahuwah? Jeremiah said, there is. Then he said, you shall be handed over to the king of Babylon. Jeremiah also said to King Zedekiah, what wrong have I done to you or your servants or this people that you have put me in prison? Where are your prophets who prophesied to you, saying, the king of Babylon will not come against you and against this land? Now please hear me, my master king, my lord king. Be good enough to listen to my plea, and do not send me back to the house of the secretary Jonathan to die there. So King Zedekiah gave orders, and they committed Jeremiah to the court of the guard, and a loaf of bread was given him daily from the baker's street until all the bread of the city was gone. So Jeremiah remained in the court of the guard. Interesting. They have a Baker Street. Wasn't Sherlock on Baker Street? Maybe not. I don't know. So let's go here. The Greek calls it a roll, a scroll, roll. Uh, 44. Yep, 44 is next in the Septuagint. Yep, Benjamin and Judah. Northern Kingdom's already gone. Right. 38. Now Shephatiah, son of Matan, Gedaliah, son of Pashur, Ukol, son of Shelemiah, Pashur, son of Malchiah, heard the words that Jeremiah was saying to all the people. Thus says Yahuwah, those who stay in this city shall die by the sword, by famine, and by pestilence, but those who go out to the Chaldeans shall live. They shall have their lives as a prize of war and live. So God's telling them what to do. Do this, you'll live. Thus says Yahuwah, this city shall surely be handed over to the army of the king of Babylon, and he will take it. So the judgment's already, there's no repenting now. You had your chance to repent. They didn't repent. He's given the city away. Judgment's already executed. Then the officials said to the king, this man ought to be put to death because he is discouraging the soldiers who are left in the city and all the people by speaking such words to them. For this man is not seeking the welfare of this people, but their harm. King Zedekiah said, here he is. He is in your hands. Wait a second. Close the blinds. For the king is powerless against you. So they took Jeremiah and threw him into the cistern of Malchiah, the king's son, which was in the court of the guard, letting Jeremiah down by ropes. Now there was no water in the cistern, but only mud, and Jeremiah sank in the mud. Ebed-Melech the Cushite, a eunuch in the king's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah into the cistern. The king happened to be sitting at the gate, Benjamin gate. So Ebed-Melech left the king's house and spoke to the king. My master king, these men have acted wickedly in all that they did to the prophet Jeremiah by throwing him into the cistern to die there of hunger, for there is no bread left in the city. Yah sent a famine on the city for their wickedness. Then the king commanded Ebed-Melech the Cushite, take 3 men with you from here and pull the prophet Jeremiah up from the cistern before he dies. So Ebed-Melech took the men with him and went to the house of the king, to a wardrobe of the storehouse, and took from there old rags and worn out clothes, which he let down to Jeremiah in the cistern by ropes. See how they did that? That's why that commandment's in the Damascus document. That's interesting. Let me go look at that. I didn't even think about that. Yep. Yep. I know people think that the Damascus document Sabbath rules are not valid, but take a look at that. How the Hebrew, all the scriptures connect. Jeremiah 17, Isaiah 58, Exodus 16, Jubilees 50, they all connect to make the Sabbath rules. It wasn't meant to be convenient for us. It's a holy commandment. It is convenient, but, not to the flesh. We like doing our own ways and our own things. That God wouldn't be worried about this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Just stick to the word, stick to what he said. It's not our opinion that matters. You're putting burdens on people. No, it's actually not a burden to not do what he calls work. Okay, here we go. Rules on keeping Sabbath. About the Sabbath, how to keep it properly. A man may not work on the sixth day from the time that the solar orb is above the horizon by its diameter, because this is what it meant by the passage. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The sixth day overlaps with the seventh day in Matthew. Where's that at? When they came to the tomb, it was the end of the sixth day and the beginning of the seventh, right? Or the end of the seventh and beginning of the eighth. But the same thing would apply to the Sabbath. On the Sabbath day, one may not speak any coarse or empty word. One is not to seek repayment of loan from his fellow. One may not go to court about property or wealth. One may not discuss business or work to be done the next day. Man may not go about in the field to do his desired activity on the Sabbath. Such burdens. They're so burdensome. One may not travel outside his city more than 1,000 cubits. A man may not eat anything on the Sabbath except food already prepared from whatever was lost in the field. He may not eat. He may not drink unless he was in the camp. If he was on a journey and went down to bathe, he may drink where he stands, but he may not draw water into any vessel. So if we get called out on the Exodus, drink where you stand. One may not send a Gentile to do his business on the Sabbath day. Gentiles aren't keeping the Sabbath. It's a no-brainer. A man may not put on filthy clothes or clothes kept in wool unless he washes in water or if they scrub it with spice. Unless the Gentiles join to Israel, then he's keeping Sabbath. A man may not voluntarily cross Sabbath borders on the Sabbath day. A man may walk behind an animal to graze outside his city up to 2,000 cubits. One may not raise his hand to hit with a fist. If it is uncooperative, he shall leave it inside. So you're supposed to know ahead of time the animal's uncooperative. Maybe I don't need to take him out today. So what we call common sense. It's not so common sense anymore. A man may not carry anything outside his house, nor should he carry anything in. If he is in a temporary shelter, he should not take anything out of it or bring anything in. No one should open a sealed vessel on the Sabbath. No one should carry medicine on his person, either going out or coming in on the Sabbath. No one should pick up stone and dust in an inhabited place. No caregiver should carry a baby on the Sabbath, either going out or coming in. Not carrying a baby. Well, it's such a burden to not carry a baby. Right? Okay. No one should provoke his servant, his maid, or his employee on the Sabbath. No one should help an animal give birth on the Sabbath. If it falls into a well or pit, he may not lift it out on the Sabbath. You should already have your animals put up before. They shouldn't be around wells and pits. The Sabbath day's tomorrow. No one should rest in a place near to Gentiles on the Sabbath because they're not keeping the Sabbath day holy. It's part of the holiness code. No one should profane the Sabbath for wealth or spoil on the Sabbath. Any living man, this is where Jeremiah is at. Living man who falls into a body of water or cistern shall not be helped out with a ladder, rope, or other instrument. No one should offer any sacrifice on the Sabbath except the Sabbath whole burnt offering, for it is so written besides your Sabbaths. So it says ladder, rope, or other instrument. Interesting. There's a place where it says you can get him out with like this right here. Let's see. Well, no rope. It's rope, so that's not. It's interesting. He took old rags and wore out clothes. That's interesting. Happy Sabbath, Luke. Yeah. So Then Abimelech the Cushite said to Jeremiah, just put the rags and clothes between your armpits and the ropes. Jeremiah did so. Then they drew Jeremiah up by ropes and pulled him out of the cistern, and Jeremiah remained in the court of the guard. King Zedekiah sent for the prophet Jeremiah and received him at the third entrance of the temple of Yahuwah. The king said to Jeremiah, I have something to ask you. Do not hide anything from me. Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, if I tell you, you will put me to death, will you not? And if I give you advice, you will not listen to me. So King Zedekiah swore an oath in secret to Jeremiah, as Yahuwah lives, who gave us our lives, I will not put you to death or hand you over to these men who seek your life. Then Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, thus says Yahuwah, the God of hosts, the God of Israel, if you will only surrender to the officials of the king of Babylon, then your life shall be spared, and this city shall not be burned with fire, and you and your house shall live. But if you do not surrender to the officials of the king of Babylon, then this city shall be handed over to the Chaldeans, and they shall burn it with fire, and you yourself shall not escape from their hand. King Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, I am afraid of the Yahudim, Judeans. I don't say Jews. I wonder why. Who have deserted to the Chaldeans, for I might be handed over to them, and they would abuse me. Jeremiah said, that will not happen. Just obey the voice of Yahuwah and what I say to you, and it will go well with you, and your life will be spared. But if you are determined not to surrender, this is what Yahuwah has shown me, a vision of all the women remaining in the house of the king of Yehuda being led out to the officials of the king of Babylon, saying, your trusted friends have seduced you and have overcome you. Now that your feet are stuck in the mud, they desert you. All your wives and your children shall be led out to the Chaldeans, and you yourselves shall not escape from their hand, but shall be seized by the king of Babylon, and this city shall be burned with fire. That seems like enough incentive to do what he said, right? Then Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, do not let anyone else know of this conversation, or you will die. If the officials should hear that I have spoken with you and come and say to you, just tell us what you said to the king. Do not conceal it from us, or we will put you to death. What did the king say to you? Then you shall say to them, I was presenting my plea to the king not to send me back to the house of Jonathan to die there. All the officials did come to Jeremiah and question him, and he answered them in the very words the king had commanded. So they stopped questioning him, for the conversation had not been overheard. And Jeremiah remained in the court of the guard until the day that Jerusalem was taken. 39. Still no scrolls. That is crazy. So let's see. 39. The first three verses in the last 5, 46. Verse 3 to 14 is missing from the Septuagint. That's where the Dead Sea Scrolls would come in handy, because we could look and say, oh, look, it was in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Septuagint is not a 300 BC translation, by the way. That's a tradition. A bunch of rabbis got in a room and translated. It's like a fairy tale. If you believe in fairy tales, you can believe that. So 39. This is how Jerusalem was captured in the 9th year of King Zedekiah of Yehuda in the 10th month. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon and all his army came against Jerusalem and besieged it. In the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, on the 9th day of the month, a breach was made in the city. Then all the officials of the king of Babylon came and sat in the middle of the gate. Nergal-Sharezer, Samgar-Nebo, Sarsakim the Rabsaris, Nergal-Sharezer, the Rabmag, with all the rest of the officials of the king of Babylon. When King Zedekiah of Yehuda and all the soldiers saw them, they fled, going out of the city at night by the way of the king's garden through the gate between the two walls, and they went toward Arabah. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued them and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. And when they had taken him, they brought him up to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath, and he passed sentence on him. The king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah at Riblah before his eyes. Also the king of Babylon slaughtered all the nobles of Yehuda. He put out the eyes of Zedekiah and bound him in fetters to take him to Babylon. The Chaldeans burned with fire the king's house and the houses of the people and broke down the walls of Jerusalem. That's interesting. It says they broke down the walls. Then Nebuchadnezzar Nebuzaradan. Captain of the guard. Captain of the guard exiled to Babylon the rest of the people who were left in the city, those who had deserted him, and the rest of the people who remained. Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard. I thought that was Nebuchadnezzar earlier. No, that's the captain of the guard. Oops. Nebuchadnezzar's name is different, though. I just got them mixed up. Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left in the hand of Yehuda some of the people, poor people who owned nothing, and gave them vineyards and fields at the same time. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon gave command concerning Jeremiah through Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, saying, Take him, look after him well, and do him no harm, but deal with him as he may ask you. So Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar, the Rabsaris, Nergal-Sharezer, the Rab-Mag, and all the chief officers of the king of Babylon sent and took Jeremiah from the court of the guard. They entrusted him to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, to be brought home, so he stayed with his own people. The word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah while he was confined in the court of the guard. Go and say to Ebed-Melech the Cushite, Thus says Yahuwah of hosts, the God of Israel, I am going to fulfill my words against this city for evil and not for good, and they shall be accomplished in your presence on that day. But I will save you on that day, says Yahuwah, and you shall not be handed over to those whom you dread. For I will surely save you, and you shall not fall by the sword, but you shall have your life as a prize of war, because you have trusted in me, says Yahuwah. 40 is not too long. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah after Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, had let him go from Ramah, when he took him bound in fetters, along with all the captives of Jerusalem and Yehuda, who were being exiled to Babylon. The captain of the guard took Jeremiah and said to him, Yahuwah your God threatened this place with this disaster, and now Yahuwah has brought it about and has done as he said, because all of you sinned against Yahuwah and did not obey his voice. Therefore this thing has come upon you. Now look, I have just released you today from the fetters on your hands. If you wish to come with me to Babylon, come, and I will take good care of you. But if you do not wish to come with me to Babylon, you need not come. See, the whole land is before you. Go wherever you think it good and right to go. If you remain, then return to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon appointed governor over the towns of Yehuda, and stay with him among the people, or go wherever you think it is right to go. So the captain of the guard gave him an allowance of food and a present and let him go. Then Jeremiah went to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, at Mizpah and stayed with him among the people who were left in the land. So some people were left in the land. When all the leaders of the forces in the open country and their troops heard that the king of Babylon had appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, governor in the land, and had committed to him men, women, and children, those of the poorest of the land who had not been taken into exile to Babylon, the poorest. Interesting. Commandment keepers. They went to Gedaliah at Mizpah, Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, Yohanan, son of Kareah, Sariah, son of Tanhumeth, the sons of Ophi, the Netophathite, Yezaniah, son of Mahakathite, they and their troops. Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, swore to them and their troops, saying, Do not be afraid to serve the Chaldeans. Stay in the land and serve the king of Babylon. It shall go well with you. As for me, I am staying at Mizpah to represent you before the Chaldeans who come to us. But as for you, gather wine and summer fruits and oil, store them in your vessels, and live in the towns that you have taken over. Likewise, when all the Yahudim who were in Moab and among the Ammonites and in Edom, so Judeans in Moab, and among the Ammonites, and in Edom, and in other lands, heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant in Yehuda, and had appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, as governor over them. Then all the Yahudim returned from all the places to which they had been scattered, and came to the land of Yehuda, to Gedaliah at Mizpah, and they gathered wine and summer fruits in great abundance. Interesting. So there were some in Edom. Why would they be in Edom? White man's not coming to the kingdom. Why would they go? I'm just messing with you. Just messing. Now Yohanan, son of Kareah, and all the leaders of the forces in the open country came to Gedaliah at Mizpah and said to him, Are you at all aware that Baalis, king of the Ammonites, has sent Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, to take your life? But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, would not believe them. Then Yohanan, son of Kareah, spoke secretly to Gedaliah at Mizpah, Please let me go and kill Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, and no one else will know. Why should he take your life? So that all the Judeans, Yahudim, who are gathered around you would be scattered, and the remnant of Yehudah would perish. But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, said to Yohanan, son of Kareah, Do not do such a thing, for you are telling a lie about Ishmael. That's not Abraham's son. So 41. I get 41 in too. All right. In the 7th month, Ishmael, son of Nethaniah. So 7th month, we got the Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacles. Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, son of Elishama, of the royal family, one of the chief officers of the king, came with 10 men to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, at Mizpah. As they ate bread together there at Mizpah, Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, and the 10 men with him got up and struck down Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, with the sword and killed him, whom the king of Babylon had appointed governor in the land. Ishmael also killed all the Yahudim who were with Gedaliah at Mizpah and the Chaldean soldiers who happened to be there. On the day after the murder of Gedaliah, before anyone knew of it, 80 men arrived from Shechem and Shiloh and Samaria with their beards shaved and their clothes torn and their bodies gashed, bringing grain offerings and incense to present at the temple of Yahuwah. Interesting. They had the beard shaved. And Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, came out from Mizpah to meet them, weeping as he came. As he met them, he said to them, Come to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam. When they reached the middle of the city, Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, and the men with him slaughtered them and threw them into the cistern. But there were 10 men among them who said to Ishmael, Do not kill us, for we have stores of wheat, barley, oil, and honey hidden in the fields. So he refrained and did not kill them along with their companions. So they came from, after the murder of Gedaliah, they came from Shechem and Shiloh and Samaria, the usurpers of the priesthood later on. Northern Kingdom's already gone. These are imposters, just like in Ezra. Interesting. Now the cistern into which Ishmael had thrown all the bodies of the men whom he had struck down alongside Gedaliah was the one that King Asa had made for defense against King Baasha of Israel. Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, filled the cistern with those whom he had killed. Then Ishmael took captive all the rest of the people who were in Mizpah, the king's daughters, and all the people who were left at Mizpah, whom Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, had committed to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam. Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, took them captive and set out to cross over to the Ammonites. But when Yohanan, son of Kareah, and all the leaders of the forces with him heard of all the crimes that Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, had done, they took all their men and went to fight against Ishmael, son of Nethaniah. They came upon him at the great pool that is in Gibeon. And when all the people who were with Ishmael saw Yohanan, son of Kareah, and all the leaders of the forces with him, they were glad. So all the people whom Ishmael had carried away captive from Mizpah turned around and came back and went to Yohanan, son of Kareah. But Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, escaped from Yohanan with 8 men and went to the Ammonites. Then Yohanan, son of Kareah, and all the leaders of the forces with him took all the rest of the people whom he had recovered from Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, from Mizpah, after he had slain Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, soldiers, women, children, and eunuchs whom Yohanan had brought back from Gibeon. And they set out and stopped at Geruth, Kimham, near Bethlehem, intending to go to Egypt because of the Chaldeans, for they were afraid of them. So they're intending to go to Egypt. Interesting. Because Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, had killed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, whom the king of Babylon had made governor over the land. Very good. Now we'll be in the Dead Sea Scrolls again. Praise Yah. 41. Update so I don't forget. Cool. All right. So scroll 2Q13. We got 6 scrolls of Jeremiah, cave 2, cave 4, cave 4. Yep. Not very much. 2Q13 is in Hebrew. The approximate date. Don't trust their dates. I don't anyways. Jeremiah cave 2. Contents. Yeah, so this scroll's in Hebrew and Aramaic. That's interesting because Daniel is, and it's part of the time of the exile too. Part of it's in Aramaic, which is Babylonian. In Hebrew, older Jeremiah scroll. Baruch, son of Neriah, is missing. Son of Korea, missing. To live in the land of Judah. Captain of the guard, missing. Son of Shaphan, missing. Interesting. So you can look for patterns too. Stuff that's in there, stuff that wasn't, stuff that was added, stuff that was taken out. You can look for a pattern of how they did it, how it connects, and what their possible motives would have been. 72b. K4 contains Jeremiah 50. Not a whole lot of scrolls for, tons of scrolls for Genesis. Check that out. So it's interesting if you go and look. So this is the Library of John, right? So look at his library, and you can see, where's that at? Sorry for all the scrolling. Okay, so here, so the book of Psalms was the most found, 39 scrolls. Pretty cool, right? Deuteronomy, 33 scrolls. So the most used books there, they would have to have more scrolls because they would get damaged because they used them more often. First Enoch, 25. Top 3, Enoch. Genesis, 24 scrolls. Isaiah, 22 scrolls. Jubilees, top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. Top 6 book. Almost as many as Genesis. Exodus, 18 scrolls. Leviticus, 17 scrolls. Numbers, 11 scrolls. Minor Prophets, 10. So that's a lot of scrolls for the law. Enoch, the law, and the Psalms. Then you get into the minor prophets. Daniel, Jeremiah 6, Ezekiel 6, Job 6. Tobit's got 5. Look at that. Kings 4, Samuel 4, Judges 4, Song of Songs 4. Song of Songs. Ruth 4, Lamentations 4. Sirach's got 3 scrolls. Ecclesiastes 2, Joshua 2. So you can see in number of importance what the community valued most, right? So this right here is very important stuff. Not that this is not important, you know what I mean? But yeah, the Psalms are loaded. But yeah. All right. Well, praise y'all. Hope that was helpful and a blessing to y'all. And yep. Hope to see you next time. Happy Sabbath for those keeping Sabbath. And